Hi, everyone. Welcome to our student panel. My name is Darren Meister. I'm the Thompson Chair of Engineering Leadership and Innovation. I'm a faculty member at Western Engineering and at the Ivey Business School. I'm not going to talk very much. I'm going to let the students actually introduce themselves and give you a chance to get to know them. These are four of our students who I've had the opportunity to get to know briefly during our time together. And I'm just going to go around the room. So Dante, why don't you please introduce yourself?
Nice to virtually meet everybody. My name is Dante Severini. I'm from Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario, so a small town up in Northern Ontario. And I'm doing mechanical engineering at Ivey. And yeah.
Hi, I'm Yudi. I am doing a dual in software engineering at Ivey, and I'm originally from London.
Hi, I'm Ez. I'm from Egypt. Nice to meet you all virtually. I'm doing my dual degree in civil engineering and Ivey, and hope to see you all here.
Okay.
Hi, everyone. I'm Clara. It's so nice to meet you all. I'm doing a dual in integrated engineering and Ivey, and I'm excited to chat about our experience.
Thanks. One of the things that you'll notice is that everybody has an engineering program / Ivey after their name, and that sort of tells you what program they're in the engineering. And it sure gives you a sense with the four of them. There's a diversity here across the group, and if we went across all the engineering programs, there are dual degree students in every engineering program and at Ivey. So I'm going to run through some questions that have been commonly asked in the past and ask our students to take up on them. Dante, can you tell me a little bit about why you chose the dual degree program at Ivey and to come to Western?
Yeah, for sure. So I guess I'll start off with why I chose the dual degree program. And it was really for me just the opportunity to kind of take what I like in engineering and that problem solving nature with numbers and math and science, and then also apply it to business problems, which I found after taking the first year course that I really had a passion for. And then with Western, when I got here, I really felt at home. And I know you'll hear people say that all the time, but I love the communal nature on campus. Everyone is looking to help each other out, especially in the engineering program. And that was really important to me.
Fantastic. Thanks a lot. Yudi, can you give you some of your reasons?
Yeah, for sure. So I'm originally from London. And so one of the reasons was just that, Western is close to home. But more importantly, I was really unsure of where I wanted or what I wanted to do in university. And at Western, I could do both engineering and business, which were two things that I would have had to choose against at other schools. So it was really great that I could do both here.
Fantastic. Thanks a lot. Clara, why did you choose to be here?
Yeah, so I chose Western for two reasons, similar to most people. So the first being the opportunity to do both engineering and Ivey in just 5 years. I think that's absolutely amazing. Similar to Dante, I'm interested in those technical concepts, but then I also wanted to learn how to actually bring businesses to market. And then the second reason was just the community feel. Like when I went to actually see so many different universities across Ontario, Western was truly one that stood out to me, and I knew that I wanted to be there for my university experience.
Fantastic. And Ez, what would you say your reasons were?
To be quite honest with all of you, I didn't really know like Yudi what I wanted to do. I knew I enjoyed math and physics, and I also enjoyed investing. And Ivey and engineering at Western is really the only program that allows you to both like exercise your engineering problem solving skills and develop your business acumen. So it just seemed like the perfect fit, and it was affirmed like Dante in the first year engineering business course.
Fantastic. And that's just to remind everybody, in the first year, everybody at Western Engineering takes a full year case-based course that's taught in cooperation with Ivey to all engineering students at Western. So that gives everybody an introduction to what they might be getting into. And sometimes people actually say, that's not really for me, and they decide to move to a more technical background. And there's nothing wrong with that. One of the great things for me from Western, our program here, is that if you choose to pursue different interests, there's opportunities to go and do those. And I think that's a really smart option when you're in high school thinking about these things. Dante, I wonder if you could share with us some of the extracurriculars that you were involved with in your first couple of years at Western.
Yeah, for sure. So during my first couple of years, I was involved in the orientation program, which is something I'm still involved in now. I'm one of the execs on the soft team this year. It's definitely been a different year, and then in my first and second year, I played a ton of intramurals with that and was involved in a few other engineering clubs, but not as heavily, most heavily the softening program.
Thanks. Udi, what would you say you were involved with most in the first couple of years?
Yeah, for sure. So in my first year, I also did some like sports things. So I was the head coach for the Western Triathlon team, also coached swimming just in the London community. But I also was a first year rep on the Undergraduate Engineering Society, which really helped me become the vice president of external relations further down the line, which is a really amazing opportunity that Western has. Additionally, I also did just a bunch of random clubs like rock climbing club, art club, things like that. And also got involved with a lot of the provincial and national engineering boards, so like the CFES and ESCO, which were really great. Additionally, I have also done a couple of like hackathons, and also was on the SOFT team as well as the Big Sister Little Sister program in engineering, which was a really great experience.
Thanks. I'm going to get you guys to put your hands up for a second. Put your hand up if you lived in residence. Okay, so as you can see, there's a fair number of people who live in residence. Clara doing it virtually. Everyone else decided to use their physical hands. Clara, can you tell us a little bit about your residence experience?
Yeah, for sure. So I was in Ontario Hall in my first year, and it was honestly a really great experience. I feel like this really allowed me to meet so many more people who I probably would not have. So people outside of my program, outside of who I would regularly see on a daily basis. So for me, it was absolutely amazing. I connected with so many people, and they're now my lifelong friends. So it was awesome.
Fantastic. Ez, what was your experience like in residence?
So I was in Saugeen. It was actually my last choice on the list. It was a very hectic year, but honestly, like the support that I received through Western, like the engineering department, through Western Student Services, like the study spaces on campus back then, there used to be a lot. Now they're working towards it again, but yeah, like it's honestly very doable, even in the most hectic residence like Saugeen. I found time and performed. The first year wasn't my best year, but you know, we learn and grow, and now we're here.
One of the things that I always like to make sure that people understand is, of the last 3 Rhodes Scholars that have come out of Western, 2 of them have been dual degree students between Western and Ivey, between engineering and Ivey, and those 2 people both lived in Saugeen Maitland. And so it's a great experience for a lot of people. It certainly teaches you some discipline in first year, but I think that's true for a lot of people with first year university, period. And for those of you who end up pursuing the AEO approach, it is one of the things that really helps build some of that discipline as we go through it all. Udi, I know you did AEO while you were here. Can you tell a little bit about AEO? Let me just make sure, in case you haven't heard the Ivey conversation yet, AEO is Advanced Entry Opportunity. It's a conditional acceptance to Ivey. And we'll let Ivey talk about the details of the program and how that works. But it's a path for about 2/3 of the people from engineering who end up doing the dual degree with Ivey. So Udi, why don't you talk a little bit about AEO?
Yeah, for sure. So in high school, that's when you apply in your grade 12 year, and you have to write about some of the experiences that you've had. And so in high school, I was a competitive swimmer, but I also volunteered playing piano at a local senior residence. And those are some of the things that I had highlighted on my application. And then in your first year and your second year, you have to maintain an average of, I believe, 78% in order to maintain your AEO status. And during the year, you have to do like a check-in with Ivey. So submitting another extracurricular like paragraph or 2 to explain what you've been doing in your first year and your second year to maintain that leadership and extracurricular involvement in university. So again, some of the things that I mentioned before were some of the things that I talked about on my application, as well as being like the lead for the Western Engineering Musical were also great highlights.
Okay. Ez, I know you had a little bit of a different path into Ivey. Can you just sort of give a sense of how you're at the big picture, your time through was getting to Ivey?
Yeah. So I actually took the AEO route as well at the beginning, and then 2 years down the line, had a little technical difficulty. And then I lost my AEO status. It got deferred by a year, so I actually had to reapply as a normal like Ivey applicant for 3rd year. And I entered after my 3rd year of engineering, which is what kind of makes me unique to the rest. And to be honest with you, it was really interesting. It was like entering the class like after 3 years of engineering rather than doing two, one, and then two. So it was a different dynamic. It worked out really well, and honestly, the support you receive from the engineering and Ivy departments, they work really well together to make sure you're on the right path, and you can still graduate in 5 years, even doing that third year entry, which is also really amazing because it gives you more time to also decide, you know, what's the right path for you.
Thanks for sharing that. Yudi, I wonder if you could talk a little bit about what it was like for you going to Ivy after 2 years of engineering into a very different way of studying.
Yeah, for sure. I honestly was quite worried right from the start because I knew I was going to be using a different side of my brain and things like that. But once I got there, I realized that I felt that the workload was honestly a bit easier, and it was a really smooth transition over because you're used to doing like 7 courses in first year end. It really does kind of calm down a little bit. And although the learning style and the teaching style is a bit different, I really enjoyed how interactive everything was. And I felt that it was a lot more manageable than what engineering had been. So it was quite a smooth transition going in.
Great. Dante, did that sound like your experiences, or were they different?
Yeah, like similar to you, I had a pretty smooth transition into third year. I really loved the case-based learning method, and is the collaborative nature of the classrooms is something that I really enjoyed. I also, like you, much enjoyed the workload in Ivy. It's a lot more steady and even keel, where you're just constantly doing kind of like the same amount of work every week, where engineering can kind of be a lot more ebbing and flow. And so I enjoyed that. I really love the collaboration of the class, and I had a really smooth transition, I think.
Thanks. One of the other things that people are often very interested in about is what it's like to go back to engineering after you've been at Ivy for that full-time, very intense HBA 1 year. Claire, how did you find it?
Yeah, so to be fully honest, I'd say it probably is quite difficult for me personally. So I'm in my 4th year right now. So I just came back to engineering. And it's definitely been quite tough, as Yudi and Dante both mentioned. It's such a big change. At Ivy, things a lot more consistent for you to just go along the year. Whereas coming back, it's kind of been a little bit of a shock. But with that being said, I would say that I've definitely had so much support just from friends and also from faculty. Like, being in integrated engineering, I have so many close friends who are also in the exact same position as me. So we kind of just work together to get through it. And after a couple of months, you kind of get back into the swing of things, and then you're all good.
Thanks. As I said, you've sort of had a bit of a different journey. You're going back, but what do you think? How's it been for you?
So honestly, it hasn't been that difficult because I finished the hard year of engineering, the third year, like before I entered. But having said that, honestly, I think the profs, just their familiarity with the program and the structure of it, and how like they've dealt with so many different dual degree students coming back before, they're very accommodating, and so are the TAs. They understand like the transition. So they were very helpful, like walking me through that transition back into engineering. So for me, I'd say it was quite smooth. The professors and the TAs, having known like a lot of people going through the program, really helps a lot, having set the precedent.
Fantastic. Thanks. What I want to do now is to sort of switch gears a little bit to talking about sort of the outside of the classroom side as far as jobs and opportunities. And we're gonna sort of split up the group a little bit and talk about that. As a faculty member, one of the things I'd like to share with everybody is this has to me always been the most exciting thing about the dual degree program, is the diversity of places that people go. And they go in a huge number of different directions. Some people emphasizing their engineering, and the business may helps them execute on those engineering goals afterwards better. And other people, really, the engineering becomes secondary to their interests in investment and trading and consulting and those sort of sides. And to me, if I was a top quality grade 12 student, this would be one of the most exciting things, is that I'm not closing doors. Sometimes it almost feels like it's 40 years ago when I came out of high school. I had these both interests. And one of the problems for me was I felt like I was closing doors when I went to university. And the dual degree program, to me, really, really starts to open up doors. So Dante, I wonder if you could talk a little bit about some of your jobs that you've had to supplement your education.
Yeah, for sure. So like Darren mentioned here, with the dual degree opens so many doors. After my first and second year, I worked engineering jobs. And then after HBA1 in my third year, I worked in management consulting at a boutique firm in Toronto called Satov. And then I wanted to try something else. So by past summer, the summer we just left, I worked for a private equity fund in Toronto specializing in healthcare. And I'm going back to management consulting full time working for Bain. And so one of the things that Darren said, they're like, all the things that I've done, I had absolutely no idea what they were in Sault Ste. Marie when I was in grade 12. But having done this dual degree, it really gave me the opportunity to explore those things.
That's great. Thanks. Clara, what have you done?
Yes, for sure. So in my first 2 years, I was at a startup in Toronto called Bonsai. It's a tech startup. And there I did a lot of different work. I was mainly pulling on my engineering skills. My first summer, I was a corporate strategy intern. And then the second summer, I moved into more like the product side of things. So it's really interesting to see how even just at one company, you can do so many different things. And then this past summer, similar to Dante, I actually took a different swing and I went into consulting at Deloitte. So I was a mergers and acquisitions consultant. So this one's kind of more pulling on my business skills. But again, in any scenario, you can really combine both the skills from engineering and business and see really where that gets you. So that's kind of where I'm at right now. But again, it's truly because of this dual degree program that I had these opportunities come up for me.
One of the things that I find really, really interesting about Western and engineering is how many people are pursuing entrepreneurial opportunities and the entrepreneurial ecosystem that we're building. One of the features that we're just in the process of rolling out is a very sizable fund to help students startups at the early stage when they're trying to get initial prototypes built and the initial parts of their companies off the ground. That's called the John M. Thompson Innovation Fund. And that's a really exciting thing, but we already are doing a lot now. So can you talk a little bit about some of the more entrepreneurial opportunities that have been available?
Of course. So it's actually an interesting story. I had a banking internship for the summer, but due to COVID, it was supposed to be overseas in Dubai. So having that was just erased. There was a tech startup that was doing really well. COVID was actually a catalyst for them. They're a delivery startup, and they went through YC, very prestigious. And just having that, engineering business title next to my name allowed me to explore that opportunity. And there's so many places you could find them, and the alumni network of the dual degree students and even the Ivey or engineering students only, that helps a lot. And they do realize that anyone from the Western alumni notices the kind of discipline it takes to go through the dual degree program, and they put high respect to it. And that's how I found the startup I was working with this summer called TiltGo. Amazing startup. Claire and I are actually doing our IFP on them right now. They're an amazing company, and honestly, the only reason I was able to spot that opportunity quickly was through Western alumni and them just realizing and picking up on my message, just because they saw in Western engineering and Ivey. Even 10 years ago is when they graduated, they still they have that in their head. Dual degree students are disciplined, hard workers, innovators. So that opportunity this summer was amazing, and I'm actually going to be starting my career with them. So it was a very interesting turn of events, but I'm excited for it.
Fantastic. And Yudi, you're not just joining a startup, you're leading one.
Yeah, definitely. So I've always been pretty entrepreneurial minded. The whole idea of entrepreneurship has always been really intriguing. So recently I launched my company called New. It is a health, food, and tea kind of focused business. And it's just starting off provincially. Our launch was in mid-October. And so with this startup, I actually had a lot of help from Western and Ivey, and the support was really incredible so far. And so basically, I felt that my engineering education really taught me innovation and fast thinking, design thinking, which helped me kind of go through the product development phase of my startup. But then over the summer, Western offered a free Master the Entrepreneurship Skill Set Masterclass, which I took, which really helped me accelerate the process of getting my startup launched. And now with Propel, I had some experiences with their Western 5 Accelerator, and I also had experiences applying for the Western Accelerator that is more for like a funding kind of aspect focus. And so hopefully that application goes well. We'll see. I just applied. Oops, sorry. And also in the community as well, and with other Ivey like clubs such as the Ivey Entrepreneurship Club, I've been really able to really use the resources around me to help me start new.
Okay. Thanks. One of the other things for those of you who are interested in entrepreneurial activities, there'll be a brand new entrepreneurship and innovation building that's be going up on campus right near the Weldon Library. In the next year or two, it'll open up, and it'll have maker spaces that are available to students to work with engineering, business, and other students on campus in an ad hoc manner. So it's an area that Western's made a real contribution and a commitment to continuing to fund. And even with the questions that some people are having around COVID and, what's that going to do to university budgets, that's something that we've been maintaining our investment in at the university level. So if you're looking for someplace to go with entrepreneurship, I can't think of a better place to start than the dual degree program. I, of course, say that as a faculty member in the area of entrepreneurship, so perhaps I might be slightly biased, but I think it's a great place to look at. I kind of want to move to our concluding statements here, if we can, and just ask you each just to sort of maybe think back to a little bit to when you were finishing high school. Don't wax poetic for 24 minutes. But just have a chance to sort of say, what would you be thinking about someone who is thinking about making this their commitment at university is to the dual degree program? I'm going to go around the horn the way that I've got it here. So Yudi, I think I'll start off with you. So what advice would you give someone?
Yeah, for sure. I think from my advice would just be to like go for it and try it out. I think although like in high school, I wasn't super sure if like I really wanted to do business or if I was really that into engineering, but I think there's no better way to find out what you want to do than like actually going and doing it. So like kind of Darren has mentioned before, like you don't want to close any doors. So I think applying for AEO, like right now, like it's never going to be a bad thing that you applied. So I would just say, just try it out, go do it, put yourself out there and see what happens. And then you can make your decision later on and keep all your doors open.
Fantastic. Dante.
Yeah, if I could go back to grade 12 Dante and the Sioux, I'd just give him a big pat on the back because I could not be happier of the decision that I made to come here. Like the people I've met and the doors that this program has opened for me, I didn't even know existed back in grade 12. And one piece of advice I would give you guys, and I wish I did this. I mean, I'm lucky with how things fell out, but reach out and like talk to people. If you know people at Western, I'm sure they know a dual degree student, and like we're all more than happy to talk and give advice and answer your questions. I know it can feel intimidating as a grade 12 student to do that, but don't worry, we're not as intimidating as we may think. I don't think I'm very scary.
As
So just like Darren said 100 times during this call, this program really does open so many doors for everyone. And I just really encourage everyone to get to know the opportunities that this program will open for you. Like put your opportunity spotting goggles on and just get to know people in all these different fields, because you could, like with this degree, you could do so much. It's like there's no limits. So you could really discover yourself, like use university as time to discover yourself. And you could do almost anything with an Ivey engineering dual degree. So good luck and put your opportunity spotting goggles on always.
Thanks. And Clara.
Yes. So 2 pieces of advice from me. My first would be to definitely do not be intimidated by this program. I feel like I definitely was when I was in grade 12. I was like, wow, that's probably so hard to achieve. But I would say if you're actually interested in this, then you will be able to achieve it and it will work out for you. So I just say to go for it. And then my second piece of advice would be in your first and second years of university to make sure to not compare yourself to other people, because I feel like I definitely did this a lot, and everyone is on their own journey, their own experience. So you don't have to be doing like the exact same extracurriculars as someone else's. Just stay true to your passions, what you're interested in, and it will all end up working out that way.
Okay. I really want to thank the panelists for joining us. For those of you who've stuck with us to the end of this video, I really want to thank you for doing that. I hope you've had an informative day. As Dante mentioned, I think it's fantastic if you reach out and give us an opportunity to put you in contact with people who are doing these things. Think about where the interests are, think about where the matches are. One of the nice things about the Zoom world is in some ways it's actually easier to set up a 15-minute, 20-minute, half-hour chat with somebody than trying to figure out how to get to London and meet face to face and everything like that. So take advantage of the world that we have. I think I got to say, that's what dual degree programs are all about. It's making your own opportunities and taking advantage of them. And yes, that's the corny thing that a prof says, but beyond that, thanks everybody very much and have a good rest of your day. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Thanks.
Bye, guys.
Yeah.
Everyone.
Good luck.